Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Drill Training Walkthrough. My name is Suzanne Taddeocean. This evening's webinar is hosted by the Burlingame Neighborhood Network. As viewers, you can see us, but we cannot see you. We do know that there are over 80 viewers this evening, representing 44 neighborhoods in Burlingame.
Wow.
13 of those are actually new block neighborhoods, so welcome aboard. This training is being recorded. The recording will be posted on YouTube next week, and the link will be posted on the resources page of the 2020 section of the BNN website, which is burlingamenetwork.org. We will also email you the link. This training will last about 1 hour, and you are invited to stay connected following the training for Q&A. If you would like to ask questions, please wait until the training is complete. You can then post your questions in the chat room. Please do not post any questions until the training is complete. We will explain how to use the chat room during the training session if you're not familiar with it. I would first like to introduce the board members. Holly Daly, our BNN president. Justin Cromelo, our BNN vice president. Beth Backnicker, our secretary. And Ann Hinkle, our treasurer. We have David Harris, Terry Nagel, and myself. We are board directors. And Dave Hinkle is joining us. Dave is Ann's husband and has graciously agreed to help us this evening. Thank you, Dave. And Dina Gunning from CCFD. Welcome, everyone. For the purpose of this training, we will be living on Happy Drive in Burlingame. Our block lead dropped off a flyer to my block, and it was an invitation to join this disaster drill. I got excited, so I called her back, and she gave me some information about the drill, and I told her I'd like to join. I provided her with my contact information, and then she sent me via email and information about what the drill will be about, and it also included links to my role-specific packet so that I could download all the forms that I needed to participate in this drill. Do all of you have your role-specific packets with you?
Yes.
Okay. Before I was ready for the drill, I went through my packet and I read all the information about my role in the drill, so I feel like I'm ready for the drill. The drill packet has forms, and I'm going to walk through those forms very quickly with you. This was the flyer that I received on the doorstep to join the drill. My packet also contained, because I'm going to be on the safety team, and a description card that tells me exactly what roles I have to perform in the drill. And every role has their own card. There's also a well-being card here. Every participant has some sample incidents here, and they're just descriptions of some incidents that could happen in this disaster. And we would encourage you to take a look at those and pick some that you want to use during your own drill. I am on the safety team, and so as part of my drill forms packet, I have an incident form where I can document incidents that happened during this drill. The next packet is the scribe. This evening, David Harris is our scribe. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. In his packet, David has a sign-in form for volunteers, and this year he's just going to fill this out and write down all the participants' names, so we've got a list of that. He also has a incident status board form, and for all those blocks that have done this drill before, this form came in a live drill as a huge butcher block piece of paper that you'd put up on the garage door. But for this shelter-in-place drill, we just have a simple form to use for that. Then we have the forms for the communications lead. Justin is our communications lead this evening. And one of the forms that he has would be a communication log. So he's going to document all of his incoming and outgoing communications. And in the incident command packet, our incident commander this evening is Ann Hinkle. And Ann has a drill instruction packet. And inside that instruction packet is a script that she's going to use this evening to show you how to run a drill. As an incident commander, there's also an evaluation form here that she will use at the end of the drill so that she can get feedback from the participants about how the drill went. We've encouraged all the participants in the drill to provide their contact information to their block lead, and that way this information can be shared with all participants in a drill so that we have information about how to reach each other. We have their cell phone number, their email, and many of you may simply be using Zoom for communication, but it's helpful to be able to share your contact information. The last form that we have is this help okay sign. And this is something that we encourage, especially in a live drill or any disaster. If you need help or if you're okay, post this on your door. And that way, for any people that are trying to check out the neighborhood, they'll know if you're okay or if you need help. And there's a little Band-Aid here that you can use to kind of tape it on your door. So we're about ready to start our training this evening. Happy Lane, do you have all of your forms in front of you and you're ready to begin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I believe we're ready to start our training, and you're on.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Suzanne, for that context that you shared with all of us. It was fantastic. So I'm Ann Hinkle. I'm the incident command for this evening's practice drill walkthrough. Before we begin, did anyone notice an immediate hazard or emergency that needs attention? Suzanne, did you notice anything?
I didn't notice anything on my block.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Today's drill is sponsored by the Burlingame Neighborhood Network in partnership with Central County Fire Department. Thank you, Dina. The Burlingame Police Department, and is supported financially by the City of Burlingame. BNN's mission is to encourage neighbors to connect and build a sense of community, become informed about disaster preparedness, and support one another during emergencies. So just so you all know, I have a script. I am reading from a script that will be available to every drill lead, so you don't have to make this up as you go along. Of course, you can adjust it, edit it for your particular group, but the main points are right here. Today, we're using Zoom as the neighborhood command post. And in a real emergency, in my block, I will have name tags. I don't know if you can see mine, wherever it is, but name tags with the first name and the street address of the participants, so that when people gather together at our neighborhood command post, they're able to kind of get a sense of who lives where and the relationships. But this year, because of the pandemic, we're doing it very differently. We will be playing it by ear, and we'll see what works and what doesn't work. So thank you for your adventurous spirit. A small but important detail: during an exercise like this, whether virtual or actual, please remember to stay hydrated. Today's exercise is a chance for our block, our neighbors, to virtually rehearse how we will work together and organize in the event of a major earthquake or disaster during a pandemic. We will also test radio communication with mobile ham radio operators located around Burlingame, which is a coordinated effort with ham radio operators, Burlingame Police, Central County Fire, and local CERTs. As soon as you have identified your role, please change your name on the Zoom screen, which I see everyone has done except my husband. I'll have to talk to him about that. And make sure that each participant in your drill has a copy of your neighborhood block directory. Please mute your audio unless you have a question or are reporting an incident. So we could all do that now. Suzanne has spoken about what some of the roles are. I'm the incident command. Justin is communication lead. Justin, would you say a few words about communication and what's possible this year?
Sure, thank you, Ann. So this year, we're gonna utilize pretty much every mode of communication that's possible. In previous years, we had made an assumption that power was out, the internet was out, but now that we're in 2020, we know that as far as our cell towers go, we have at least 72 hours of battery coverage in all of our cell towers. So we have access to our cell phones. We know that the internet, although sporadic, is going to be up and we can utilize the internet. We also know that we've spent a lot of time over the last year building a block directory. And so I know how to get in touch with my neighbors. So I'm going to use that block directory to get in touch with people because I don't want to risk face-to-face communication with them, in-person communication because of COVID. And the air quality outside may be very poor with all the fires. So I don't want to risk having to go outside to contact people. So I'm going to utilize all of the means that I have available that people have provided me as we built the directory. In addition to that, I'm going to use the FRS radios. I have an FRS plan that I used last year so my radios are all programmed and ready to go. I also have some ham radios. And what's going to be different this year is that the ham operators are going to be mobile. So they're going to be roaming around Burlingame, so to speak. So I should be able to get one of those if I need one. And if I can't, it's a question of waiting. It's a question of time. So I think from the perspective of this drill versus previous years where we were set up at the schools, this is kind of the point before things are set up. And this year in particular, we didn't want to have the face-to-face communication, in-person activity that it would have taken to set up the school. So this is really in the hours in the day before all of that kind of infrastructure can be set up. And so things may come and go, but I'm going to start because I'm dealing with the block, with the information people have provided me. And the one thing that I really want to stress to everybody is because I'm using text, because I'm using email, because I'm using chat, a variety of different chat services. Again, it's whatever you've decided on your block. I need to make sure that if I'm going to communicate, and what I'd ask anybody communicating with me is that they identify themselves, because I won't know who they are. So it's very important to always say who you are, who you intend to communicate with, and then provide the information that you want to communicate about. And so that's what's a little bit different than this year. But we want to utilize all the mechanisms that we have at our disposal to contact our block and anybody in the periphery that we may need assistance from.
Thank you. Anything else, Justin, you want to say?
I think, you know, that pretty much, oh, it looks like there's a question from the safety.
Yes, there is. Suzanne. Suzanne, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
On Happy Lane, we have a neighbor, Irwin, down the street, and he only has a landline phone. He doesn't use a computer, so he can't email or text. How can he participate?
So, Suzanne, that's a great question. It's very easy. So, you know, we're on Zoom and we provided a dial-in number for everybody. So even though you may not have access to the full audio and video and the richness that we have in multimedia, they could simply take their phone and dial into the number and have access to all of us and all of our roles relative to the drill to get information, provide information. So they're as connected with their phone as anybody else would be.
So, but Justin, that would mean that because he doesn't have a computer, if there's an event, Suzanne would need to run down and give him the phone number because he wouldn't be able to access it from the computer.
Well, my hope would be from, you know, all of the logs, all of the directory that we put together for the neighborhood, that he would actually call Suzanne and because she's on the safety team, or maybe Anne's the incident commander, he would call you and say, hey, what should I do?
Or we would call him and say, I know you don't, so you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
It can work either way.
So one of the things that I've heard from Justin repeatedly, which I think is such great information, is start simple, start basic. If we have everybody's phone numbers, start with a phone call.
That makes sense.
Any other question? Nope. Okay. David. Oh, Beth. Yes. Unmute yourself.
Yes. A lot of the participants will be families with children. Are there any things that children can do to feel like part of this?
But that's a great question. You know, I think that there's probably nothing that children can't do. If they have an interest in this, certainly involve them. But it also may be a good time to, you know, maybe hook them up with a coloring book. Because while this is very interesting and exciting to us, you know, for this hour and a half, unless they can participate with these within our communication mechanisms, it may be a little bit limited for that.
Another idea for kids would be to invite them to check, find the devices in the house and start charging things so that you've got your devices fully charged. And maybe the kids could start calling immediate family in the area, aunts, uncles, cousins, and make sure they're okay and tell them that you're okay. Another thing kids could do is maybe you could have them start a list of, say, 10 emergency supplies that you might want to gather and have handy, like a first aid kit or an fire extinguisher or chargers for your phones and devices. You could let them build that list out.
Holly, those are great ideas. And also that idea of everybody, you know, once people are safe, their household is safe, everybody needs to connect with an out of the area contact to let them know that everyone is safe. Okay.
That sure sounds a lot more useful than a coloring book.
All right, David, you're our primary scribe. Do you want to say anything about your job and what you'd like?
Sure. So for the purposes of the drill, we're recommending, depending on how big your block, how many participants you actually have, you might want more than one scribe. You might want 2 or 3. But the job of the scribe is really to sort of be a go-between. I will be recording all of the incidents that the safety team and the well-being team, after they've gone out and collected those incidents, I will be writing them down, logging where the incident was, how serious it seems to be, And then I'll be talking with the communications lead and with the incident commander to decide what should be elevated, perhaps communicated to one of those mobile hams that Justin referred to. And then after we talk, we may go back to the safety team or the well-being team and say, could you go back and say, check on this incident at this address and see if they need more help, see if there's something that you can do. And then the other thing is just that as people log in during your drill, just that you keep a record of who, you'll be able to see them on Zoom, but just for your records that you know who's attending, and that you know, over the course of the drill, sort of build up that contact sheet if you find yourself with a little spare time on your hands during a disaster.
Sometimes that happens. Yeah. So hold on just a sec, Suzanne. So when people communicate with David, they need to start off the time, the address, the level of risk, and then other pertinent information.
And to Justin's point, if, you know, I would say that the block leads should, if you can identify scribes ahead of time so that you can sort of figure out exactly how you're going to do this. If you desire, to Justin's point, if you decide that you want to text with each other to communicate, that you always use your name first. We actually ran a rehearsal last weekend and I was getting flooded with texts and I couldn't tell who was who. So just want to reinforce that point.
Suzanne.
Yes. So I'm on the safety team and, you know, you mentioned that I'll go down and check out the situation, but I'm just pretending, right?
Right. This is virtual.
I hope so.
Okay.
This is virtual. Okay, I'm going to briefly describe the safety team responsibilities and the well-being team responsibilities. So safety is, you know, to reduce it to a few words, it's risk hazards related to structures. Fire, water mains, power lines. It's related to structures, and the well-being team is related to incidents involving the well-being of the human beings in our community. So they both end up doing the same kind of thing. They sweep, they identify the risks, the incidents, they come back and report them. And then from there, it depends, we take the next steps of action. So everyone, are there any questions about that? I mean, that was really brief, but we have a short period of time today and everybody has received the descriptions of the job responsibilities. Any questions about that?
I have one.
All right.
So I was looking over the incidents. There's safety incidents and well-being incidents. Can I make up my own?
Of course, because what happens in your neighborhood may be different than what happens in Unhappy Lane. Or, you know, yes, of course, things come up.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Terry?
So I'm on the well-being team, and when you say we check on people, do you mean we actually go out into the neighborhood in pairs like we've been taught as CERTs? And, you know, what do we do about the COVID danger when we're with someone else?
We do not. This is all virtual.
Okay.
So you and Holly have a list of incidents and you will choose the ones that you want to report and bring to the neighborhood command post. You will not go out to the neighborhood. Now, in the event of an actual earthquake disaster during the pandemic, the good news is that we have PPE in each cache. So people can decide, are they at risk? Are they, or, you know, are they in a high risk category? Like, you know, I'm 70, I'm in a higher risk category than a few others. So people may go out into the neighborhood during a real emergency, but not for this emergency. Does that answer your question?
Mhm.
Okay. Yes, Holly.
So thank you for that, Anne. I think I'm taking my virtual situations and I'm going to wander through the pages and
Yes.
find a couple, and that might include signs in the
Yes.
window.
That's right.
And then I'm going to fill out my incident report form to capture the facts related to that. And I'm going to report that to the scribe.
David, absolutely.
Got
And
it.
then we will determine action after that.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So we've already started. You begin with the street address, the risk, any other pertinent information. Okay. We just had an earthquake. Okay, so at 7:20 this evening, we experienced a 7.2 earthquake on the Hayward Fault. Our power lines and landlines are down. As Justin said, cell service is available for 72 hours, but we are going to use Zoom for the purpose of this drill. We do not know the extent of the damage. We should expect to be without direct emergency services for at least 72 hours or longer. I'm glad we're all here because we can check for damages, injuries, the welfare of our neighbors, or other problems on our street. So we're going to team up to check for incidents. We'll record them and take action on those we can address ourselves, and we'll communicate as needed with emergency responders via mobile hams in our area. There is no right or wrong. We'll consider options and we will use our best judgment, and we'll use our best judgment based on our skills, our experience, etc. So first of all, please confirm that your own families and households are safe. And if you have a help okay sign, Suzanne shared that with us. I'm okay and she needs help. Please put those on your front door so that those of us in the neighborhood who would be going out and checking on the well-being, or first responders who will be going out as they're available, so that they can see where help is needed. And remember, personal safety comes first. As Dina would say, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. David, I'm going to ask you to report, to note the teams that participants have decided to join. So who would like to be on the safety team? All right, Suzanne would like to be on the safety team and Beth would like to be on the safety team. Who would like to be on the well-being team? Okay, and I guess David Hinkle, I don't know where he went, but he's on the safety team too. So the way I like to do it is I like to have the safety team go out for a quick sweep, not to, address all the issues, but a quick sweep to make sure that it is then safe for the well-being team to go out. As we said earlier, when teams report incidences to the scribe, start with the simplest solutions first. because of the pandemic, we are minimizing and eliminating personal contact. Use your block directory, and as Justin has suggested, start with the simplest option first, like a phone call. All right, good luck, everybody. Safety team, go on out. Yes, Beth, do you have an incident to report? Unmute yourself, please. Beth.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
Yes, it's just looking out my window from
Yes.
173 Happy Lane. I
Yeah.
can see that at 177 Happy Lane next door to me, it looks like the house is damaged, and I'm afraid I can even smell gas.
All right, so you think it's a gas leak?
I think there might be. So I tried to call my neighbors there to find out if anyone's in the house or
Yeah.
to ask them to get out, but there's no answer.
Okay, so how about neighbor on the other side?
I haven't been able to see that because of bushes and trees.
But you know the address, right, for the neighbor on the other side?
On the other side of the affected house.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So will you call that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and I have the master list that Dina gave me of Central County Fire Department, and there is a PG&E number here. So if you don't get an answer, then we can call PG&E.
Okay.
So I actually am not far from that house, and I'm a cert, and I have my gas shut-off tool. Should I go down there and check?
If this was an actual, yes. So you can pretend that you're going down there to shut it off. But you know, the thing about shutting off, unless we really know that there's a gas leak, that's a huge problem in the past when too much gas has been shut off because it takes so much time for PG&E to come around and turn gas back on. It's not a simple process. So do you want to?
I will go out and check, and
Great.
I won't get too close, but I'll check in a moment.
Okay, and then you'll let us know, and we'll decide if we need to call PG&E.
I will.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have an incident?
I'm back.
Oh, and?
And you know, I didn't smell any gas there.
Okay.
So, and I didn't see any people hanging out around there. So, you know, maybe perhaps we'll get some caution tape just to kind of, you know, cord it off so that people won't hang out near there.
Okay, so Justin, would it be appropriate for you to call PG&E and say that there's a potential for gas?
Sure, let me do that. Let me take that down and I will put it on the comm list and I will
Okay.
follow up on that.
Do you want the number?
I have it right here in my
You have
copy
it.
of the directory.
Okay, good. Everybody should have this directory.
David,
Okay.
I reported something in the chat room.
Thank you.
Wow, there's
I see
10.
I'm looking in the wrong chat room. I'm afraid I don't see that.
I'll read it. Safety Suzanne here. David Harris, come in. There's a fire at the house across the street.
What is the,
The address is 124 Happy Lane.
can you tell me what you're seeing?
Well, it's
Are both floors, one floor, 2 stories? Tell me what's going on.
one story, and I see some flames, but there's all kinds of people hanging out around it, so I can't see too well what's going on.
Okay, Ann and Justin, that seems like we should elevate that.
Right, so we should telephone. Suzanne, can you do that? Can you telephone the house?
I can. I'll try doing that right now.
Okay, and what's the neighbor's name?
It's Sally Poot.
Sally Poot. Okay.
I know Sally.
Okay, good.
And I just heard back from PG&E and they're checking it out. They've got a few reports in this area of similar circumstances. So they're aware of it and we'll just have to see what happens.
Okay, all right, great. I haven't heard about a well-being issue. Yes, Holly.
Yes,
Address?
at 212 Happy Drive, there's a family with 3 kids that are alone. Mom is still at work and the dad was picking up dinner. They've had some broken windows. And so we can have them come to someone's home to just watch them and leave a note for the mom and dad and start cleaning up some of the glass, keeping the kids safe.
All right, that sounds great. So David, you wrote that down?
I've got that, yes.
Okay, so Holly,
We-
can you call neighbors on both sides and see if someone is available either to go and be with the kids or take the kids in?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, all right. Any other incidents that, yes, Suzanne?
Yes.
So nobody answered at the house with the fire, so I called the lady next door, and the lady that lives in that house went next door. So she's okay, but I still see a fire. It might need to be called in.
Okay, all right. So 911. Justin, will you call 911?
Sure, I'll call 911.
Okay.
So I
What's
just
the
reported.
address? Hold on, Terry, just a sec. What's the, I don't want to lose the trail. Suzanne, what was the address?
It was 124 Happy Lane.
Okay, okay, fire. I thought that's where Sally Poot was.
It is.
Okay, all right.
So
Terry,
I just reported in the chat to everybody that I'm looking out my window and my neighbor Alvin is running around and doesn't look like he knows where he is. And, you know, I think he has Alzheimer's and he's very confused. So what I think I'm going to do is in my neighborhood directory here, I have the cell phone of his daughter who lives across town. I'm going to text her and see if she can come and help him.
okay,
He's at 284 Happy Lane,
okay,
and I'm reporting this at 7:37.
okay. So elderly confused man.
Right, Alvin from 284 Happy Lane.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you, Terry.
And you're going to call the daughter.
Yes, I'm calling.
Okay,
Right.
okay. Is there a neighbor to call that would be closer than the daughter?
I don't know the neighbor. They didn't register on
Okay.
the.
So they're
block.
not in the directory. Okay.
Right, but I'm calling the daughter and, oh, yes, okay. Yes. So she's coming over. She's
Great.
COVID free. And she's coming to help her dad.
Okay. And so there isn't enough damage from the earthquake that would prevent her from getting to him.
Nope, she doesn't think that will be a problem.
Okay, alrighty.
So I see Justin, no, you weren't able to get through to via 911 on the fire?
That's correct. So I was able to reach a ham and I asked them to escalate to the EOC and I got an acknowledgement. So when I hear back on that, I'll let everybody know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, wait a sec. Justin, I think I hear a fire engine. Anybody else hear it?
I hear that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
Pretty
it.
far away.
It's far away, but hopefully it's coming towards us.
It sounds like it. It's getting
Good.
closer.
Good, good. Okay.
So I think we know that that's been dealt with.
Okay.
So, oh, I'm just getting a notice from another neighbor. Can I report that?
Of course.
Yeah, please.
She's really worried about her next door neighbor, George, he lives alone and he takes an awful lot of medications, and he's gotten very confused sometimes about how much medication he should take. And she said she's looking through the window at him and he looks really stressed out and messed up. What should we do?
Terry, what's his address?
His address is 299 Happy Lane,
Okay.
and
All right.
that's George,
So,
my cat.
all right.
So this fire across the street is looking worse. Did you reach 911, Justin, or can you call a ham radio operator?
I did reach 911 on that, and it's been communicated.
Right. Oh, that's right. The
We
fire.
heard the fire engine, so we think they're on the way.
Great. Okay.
Is there a possibility that, somebody on the fire engine is a paramedic and could go check on George?
I don't know. I think they're usually pretty busy at a time like this. So what I'm going to do is I do have information from another neighbor who knows him. And I think she knows some of his family members, and they're going to try to reach out to them.
So for the future, that's information we need to add to our block directory.
Mm-hmm.
For people that are alone, we need more resources for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And isn't there a physician in our directory that maybe we could get in touch with and ask to look into this person to see what these medications are?
That's a really good question, Justin. I don't have the answer to that, but that's a great idea. So what are you thinking? How would that work?
Well, I just think that if we knew there was a physician that lived on our block and we could call them, and they could be, maybe through the window, the person could show up their pills and the doctor could get an idea of what's going on there. We would know whether or not that person was in some kind of immediate danger.
Oh dear, the neighbor is telling me that George has slumped down on the floor. It looks like he's in a bad way. I think he needs medical attention. What should we do?
Let me try to get 911. And in the meantime, maybe we can see if there's a physician that somebody who's in our directory knows about that we could maybe get to assist us.
I think we have one on our corner. Why don't I run over and just see if that's the case?
Okay. All right.
Put your mask on.
Yeah.
That is a good reminder why it's so important to capture everybody's skills and, whether they're paramedics or doctors or certs or whatever, but good reminder.
Structural engineer, anyone?
Oh, the drill has ended. It's time for evaluation. This is a point that Suzanne often makes when we do the training at the lane room, which is the exercise may seem confusing, and it is, and this is especially new and is possibly especially more confusing. So the more we practice, the more comfortable we will be, the more muscle memory we will have to effectively respond to an emergency and effectively keep our families and our community safe. So when you do the drill, all of you that we can't see right now, but thank you for being here. When you do the drill, please spread the word about BNN and our citywide emergency and encourage other neighbors and neighborhoods to participate.
And we have a number of members of the audience that have raised their hands with questions. So if it's okay with you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of them and allow them to ask their question.
So,
So
I have one more thing to say.
okay.
And then it's all yours. So the good news is that we are now a 501c3 nonprofit, and we can accept tax deductible contributions. And another piece of good news is that the city of Burlingame paid for PPE supplies to be included in all the caches. So that is fantastic. And I know Dina through CCFD is also contributing items to our caches. So over to you, Justin.
I have a question, excuse me. I just want to make sure, this is the evaluation form that was in our packet?
Yes.
And how do we get that to you?
You leave it on my front porch, Suzanne's front porch, and Terry's front porch, along with drill signs and other forms, and that has all been emailed to drill leads and participants.
Thank you.
Or it will be drill emailed.
Will be.
And
I
at the
think we
bottom,
did that already, Suzanne.
bottom of the evaluation form, there are 3 addresses where these items can be
Yeah.
done after the drill.
Terry?
So I have 2 requests on the leads. Every year we like to count the number of participants. So if you can do a head count of the people participating in your drill and write that at the top of your sheet, normally it would be a sign-in sheet that they would each sign into. But if you can just make us a list of your participants, we would love to have that so we can keep in touch with them. And also, CCFD uses these numbers of participants to qualify for funding through the CERT program. So it's really helpful to everybody if we get the names and the head count.
So I have one thing to add to that, which is in the past, those sign-in sheets have just been dropped off and many of them are illegible. So
True.
my request is that you take a few minutes to type out the list so that we can see the spelling of the names, see the spelling of the email address, etc. You know, it doesn't take that long to do it. Okay, Justin.
Or print.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through, we have, it looks like 4 folks so far have raised their hands. And if you have questions, feel free to use the chat and just type your questions because we'll go through those as well. And I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna just use first names here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mention your name and then I'm gonna click on a button here that says allow to talk. And then you can just ask your question. So I'm gonna start with Richard. You were the first person to ask a question. I'm just gonna click on allow to talk. Okay, Richard, you have the floor.
Okay, hi Richard, can you hear me?
It's Becky.
I'm Becky, but I'm Richard's wife. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
Becky,
Oh.
even better.
Okay.
We can hear you great.
Okay, so I just have a couple questions. We are not going out at all. Everything is going to be phone and email because I know the walkie-talkies won't work. And then we'll use the ham radio, and we're lucky we have a ham at the end of the street. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And everybody on the team, feel free to just jump in, but that is absolutely correct. You do not go outside. You do not have any in-person contact with anybody outside your household. and you are able to use any communication means, any mechanism that you have at your disposal to communicate with folks outside of your physical house.
I
Okay.
have a
At
comment.
this point, I'd like to say that we are having a communications training also that will go into more detail. And that is this time next week, October 1st. Another
Right.
7 p.m. Zoom.
You
Right.
are welcome to join
Becky?
that.
And we're, yes.
When I have sent out the invitation to my neighbors, I have asked, are you comfortable with Zoom? And most people have said yes. And someone said, I haven't used it, but I'm willing to. And so I'm setting up an individual meet just with that person to spend a few minutes to get them comfortable with Zoom, because, it's nice to see everybody.
So you're gonna send that to me and then we send it to the people that want to be involved in the Zoom thing?
I'm happy to send that to you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
My next question is, maybe we're 2 blocks. We only probably need 1 scribe, right? Or you want, I noticed in all the reading, 1 scribe, 2 scribe?
How many participants do you have in your? On the
It looks like 25. I don't have it in front of me.
So the scribe can be very busy, and sometimes it would be helpful if you have people to have assistant scribes also. There will be a lot going on, as David Harris experienced during our practices.
Yes.
Okay, and then 2 different blocks again, 2 incident commanders, 1.
If you have enough people, it would probably be easier. When we've had an abundance of turnout, we've divided it into two groups. And
Yeah, we did, okay.
so like one took one block and one took the other block, because that allows more participation by more people.
And
Okay,
Becky, you have a very enthusiastic group. Other blocks may have as few as 5 people in their groups, and that's okay too.
okay. I'm sorry, I know, I just want to get all these. Okay, so I got the one packet you sent me where the help and all that thing. Were you gonna send us more packets to other people, or it's just the one packet?
So what happens, Becky, is I will resend you a email. I sent out 2 emails. The first email was getting your flyer out. There was a sample flyer for the block with some more information.
Yeah, Lisa did that.
Yeah, and then the second email I sent out was what you do when you have participants that have signed up, and it provides you with a sample email that you can send to them. And in that sample email, the letter that you're sending to them will include all the links for the forms packets that we talked about today. So you don't have to print that out for them or anything. You just send them this email and they click on their role. Like I was on safety team, I clicked on the safety team forms packet, and that provided me with everything I needed. So,
Okay, for some reason, I think I missed that. If I could have that again.
I will send that to you this evening.
And then the drill kit, that's the big kit you sent us?
So when we took off the lawn sign, there was a packet of PPEs,
and there's just one.
And we're not using the PPEs at all this year. Basically, all the forms that we're using this year are what you download from the links in that email. So I will resend that to you.
Okay, but since we're 2 blocks, should Lisa and Chris have a drill kit?
They do. They already do. And I delivered I delivered all that to them right after I delivered your stuff to you.
So this year we're not using the caches. We're not using the last year's drill kits. We're simply using the downloadable forms in this email. So all of the drill leads as soon as they get participants, they can send the attached email in the second email. And if anyone needs to receive that email again, I can send that out this evening or tomorrow morning. Just let me know.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
So as a result, we are asking the participants to print the documents themselves, and hopefully they have a capability to print them out. If they don't, maybe the drill lead could lend a hand and print a couple of the pages out for those people.
Okay, so I know that we've got quite a few people with questions, so I want to make sure we can get through some more questions. And at the end of tonight, we can give an email address that people can send in some questions to. But I just want to make sure that we give other folks a chance in the few minutes we have left.
Yes, and Justin, we have one in the chat room I would like to address, which is essentially then participants each report on 1 to 2 incidents. Yes, that's our intent.
So I would like to invite Dina, if you have anything to say to all of us, I think that would be great.
Great, thanks so much, Anne. You guys, as always, do a fantastic job. And in this day's virtual world, kudos, because it's not easy to coordinate all of this. And nice rehearsal job in sharing the information and making sure that everybody understands the directions. And I just want to say again, thank you. And we're here to support you in any way we can. And perfect opportunity during CERT week to host this workshop, and being in Emergency Preparedness Month and segueing into next month with fire prevention and shakeout and everything else that we have going on. It's great to raise everybody's awareness and participation and be able to engage in this way. So thank you all. And just another congratulations on your 501c3. Great accomplishment. And thank you, Terry, for also mentioning we are so very happy to have had CERT funding this year, and looking forward to all of the activities when we do get back to. But with that said, we do now have an online CERT program and training program. So if you get a hold of us or go to the ccfd.org website, you can get more information about that. So we're very pleased about that, all going into more virtual training, whether you'd like to refresh or for those who haven't taken CERT training to participate in that. And at some point we'll be back in person to do those hands-on skills and exercises. But for now, the virtual exercise is great. And again, thank you all for sharing, and we look forward to the participation.
Thank you. And I know we have a lot more questions. Thank you, Dina. Justin?
Hey, thank you. I'm going to answer one of Alden who wrote it in the chat. Then I'm going to go to Rebecca. I'm going to put Rebecca on in a minute. But Alden asks, he's asking about radios, and what about radios? If you don't have radios, what do you do? What's the role of radios? And basically for this drill, use whatever you have. Okay, if you don't have radios, don't worry about it. The objective is to make sure you have a block directory so you know how to contact people on your block in case of emergency. If you have radios, use them. On October 1st, we're going to get into more detail of the communication plan. We're going to cover the frequencies that we're going to use. We're going to cover the protocols that we're going to use for communication. Unlike previous years where we've escalated everything, we're going to kind of go the other direction. We're going to use the hams to check in on people to determine whether or not there are things that actually need to be escalated. So we're going to cover that next week. But again, if you don't have radios, don't worry. This is designed to use FRS radios and ham radios. And we will cover everything that you need to know. Okay, so I'm going to go to Rebecca. You had a question.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for all of you are doing. I'm blown away. I'm in a group that's just kind of trying to restart. This is the first drill I've participated in. so I wanted to know, the incident reports that David was using, are those in the packet?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right, because I didn't see them, but I'll go back and look again.
So they would not be in the physical packet that we dropped off at your doorstep. They would be, there was a second email like Rebecca was asking about, and in that email that you send to all your participants, there are links there. You just click for the link. And David, because he was the scribe, he clicked on the scribe link and he got all of his forms that way.
Okay.
Just want to say they're also on the website. So our website is burlingamenetwork.org. Go to the resources page, and in the bottom left-hand corner, it says Documents for 2020 Shelter in Place Drill. Everything is posted there. We'll put the recording of this training there also.
Okay, great. And then I also wanted to I was interested that somebody reported a fire. Would it not be reasonable to send somebody over to make sure there isn't somebody in the house? Or is that too dangerous?
That depends.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great question. And if, you know, the air quality is just really horrendous out there, you may want to use the phone and call the owner first, and then call a neighbor, and kind of let your fingers do the walking before you hazard out into, you know, an air level of 400.
But to Ann's point, you don't want to put yourself at risk, whatever you do.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, a couple other just quick things, if I may. So the help or okay signs, are those something I should distribute to everybody now so that when there ever is an earthquake, they put them out?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And lastly, how do you decide who you're going to assign the scribe and the commander and the safety and the other one who checks on people? Is this something I should assign, not just ahead of the drill, but I mean for an earthquake?
Yes. And
These people know what they were doing even before that?
They do. And you know, what you'll find is we've done the drill every year, and there are certain people on our block that one likes the communication, he likes radios. One is a flight attendant that loves doing the first aid area. Some blocks have certs on them and they like the safety area. So when someone calls and says, I'd like to participate in your drill, you know, get their name and their contact information, and then ask them if they have any interest in a certain role in the drill. And that way they can pick a role at that point, and then you send them an email with the link to the that role specific form packet, and all they have to do is review that and they'll be ready for the drill.
And another thing is, for a real event, sometimes it's first come, first serve. You know, you have the neighborhood command post, you have the cash, you have your supplies, and as people show up, you can say, you know, what would you like to do? What are your skills? And go from there, you know, versus a planned drill where this can be assigned in advance.
Gotcha.
So on the help and okay sign, that can either be printed out by an individual, or you can distribute the laminated copies and the people can keep those.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca, and congratulations for taking this on.
Got to do it.
I'm going to go to Jim, and then I'm going to go to Steve. So, Jim, you have the floor. Are you still with us, Jim?
I see him. He's on mute.
He's muted.
No, let's try it
Jim
again.
Shepard, yeah.
Yep.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. What about pets and animals? Sometimes pets or animals, if there's a big dog, it might be spooked out.
It's true.
Well, in our contact form, we actually ask people to include whether they have pets, how many pets, just so that we're aware that we can look out for them.
Also in my neighborhood, we have two different plumbers outfit. Can they could advise us about the smell of gas, or shut off the plumber and then come back and turn on the gas again?
Yeah, Jim, the point that you're raising is, I think, a great point. And for everybody in your neighborhood directory, you want to make sure to capture the special skills and talents of the people that are on your block. And those should be in your directory. So you know who's a plumber that we can call, who's an electrician that we can call, who's got a computer background that we can call, who's got a communication background, and know who all these people are. So when there's an issue, you can go right to a resource that can be the most help. So that's a great point, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve, we're going to go to you. You have the floor, Steve. Steve, you're on mute.
Oh,
There you go.
there. Okay, great. This is a great training session. Thank you so much. I have a quick question for you all. Why are there so many bad things happening on Happy Lane?
A real bummer.
Unhappy Lane.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thanks, Steve.
Nice to hear from you, Steve.
Okay,
Suzanne, there's a chat question from someone who's a new group in Ray Park, and this is from Ken, and he's asking if he could have a conversation with prior Ray Park neighbors or get some information. Ken, is that somebody that you would be able to reach out to?
Yeah, May Cito has been the contact person for that, and Anne will be in contact with her tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, you're on mute, Anne. Anne, you're on mute.
You're
I
muted.
sent her all that information today, including Ken's contact information.
Is Ken still on?
It was a question in the chat.
Okay.
Well, we survived.
Well, there's another question that you'll get into more at the comms meeting, Justin, but essentially, how do we communicate with hams? Do we call their cell phone or email them or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's going to be a couple of different ways. So certainly if you have their contact information, a cell phone, you could try calling them, but you may not have that kind of information. So, I would say there are two really important things. One is keep your comms on and monitoring them. And what I want you to think about is if you're inside and you have an FRS radio, it's not going to work very well. So if you need to monitor the comms, you need to get somebody either outside or you got to get your radio outside a window.
But Justin, if we have an incident that we need to escalate, can we text that to the comms person that's mobile?
If you have that information, you can, but you may not have that.
Okay.
And so again, what I'm saying is that monitor all the channels, because what may end up happening is at some point in the drill, a ham may call you to check in with you.
Right, but what if we're not using a radio, we're not monitoring channels. If we have to,
if you have no radio,
if we have to reach out to somebody low tech and we want to escalate something, how do we do that?
That's when it would be good to know who ham is in your neighborhood.
Right, but keep in mind, in a real emergency, the hams are going to come on. It's a dynamic situation. So, you want to exhaust all of your directory channels that you have. And the hams are really a bridge. They're a last resort to try to move your message forward.
So we should be calling 911 to escalate?
The hams will help you if you can't reach 911. I tried calling 911 in this drill, and I just got a funny tone because it was overwhelmed. So how would we
reach the ham if we don't have a radio? can we text them on their mobile phones, or do we
So,
text?
again, you may be able to, but the hams don't have a publishing of contact information.
Ollie,
So,
there's going to be a whole evening that Justin is presenting.
Right. This was a question in the chat saying, how can
come
we?
October 1st at 7 p.m., a week from
Exactly.
tonight, and we will
Excellent.
cover that exact question.
Yes.
Hey, Holly, do you just want to share the fact that we'll be having the police and CCFD drop in on
Yes.
Zoom meetings?
Go ahead, David.
Well, we're going to be asking all block participants to provide us with their Zoom links, and we'll be providing that to CCFD and the police department, if I'm correct. So you may have a police officer or a firefighter drop in on your drill, which they do in real life every year, but now we're going to do it virtually.
And what they might do is just bring an update of a circumstance in your area. So that would be like a Zoom bomb.
No, none of those. Zoom inject.
Zoom inject, right.
Which reminds me too, to make sure to remind everybody, because I know all of you are anyway, but to please subscribe to SMC Alert so that you will get a notification for Drill Day. So make sure that you are subscribed. You can go to smcalert.info to subscribe. And also, if you already are subscribed, please go in and check and update your information. That's always a good thing to do annually. And we do recommend that amongst all the other things that we have you check on for drills. Okay.
Great reminder. Thank you, Dina.
So Dina, is it accurate to say that there will be an SSMC alert that morning about the event? We've done that in the past. Is that?
Yes, and as long as everybody, updates their information and they're subscribed.
Yeah.
I can't add people. You have to subscribe because it is an opt-in system.
Yeah. Great. Any last words?
I would like to say, if we didn't get to your specific, there are a lot of questions in the chat with very specific communications questions. And so for all of you, I would like to, again, recommend the October 1st training. And that registration link would be in Suzanne's email that she referenced, where she also included the packet information, and she will resend that to anyone who needs that.
And Holly, sent that link on the website as well, on the BNN website?
I don't know.
It is, but you can also email info@burlingamenetwork.org and you will get a response very quickly for any question. So that's info@burlingamenetwork.org.
Well, as the incident command, thank you, team. I think we saved our neighborhood from a lot of harm and, as Steve suggested, potential unhappiness on Happy Lane. Thank you.
Very well
Thank
done.
you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night. Good night, everyone.
Great job, guys.
Looking forward to seeing you on the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.